Shalom guys, shalom everybody, shalom everybody else. So let's continue. We are approaching now the second chapter of the book of Tanya, the fundamental work of the Hasidic philosophy. First of all, do we have any questions from the previous classes? Jen, no? Yaakov Shlomo? No? Okay. So let's make a short overview of what we learned from the first chapter. First of all, we learned that we are here on a mission. The soul coming to this world receives a job description, as it described in the Talmud. Entering the so to speak the space of this realm of the physical reality, right before entering, the soul gives an oath. Takes an oath, and it sounds very strange. Be righteous and don't be wicked. But if everybody tells you that you are righteous, if you are tzaddik, in your eyes you should consider yourself to be a wicked. And we're trying to understand what does it mean. First of all, the good news is that from this description we see that our existence in this world is not meaningless, which is, I think, a tremendous gift to a person to know that there is a meaning in our existence here. But what kind of job description is it? Be tzaddik, don't be a rasha. But if everybody tells you that you're a tzaddik, in your eyes you should be a rasha. We need to understand what is it? What is tzaddik? What is rasha? And we find out that there are different levels of those different spiritual levels which person can correspond to. Two levels of tzaddikim, of righteous, complete, incomplete. Two levels of wicked ones, complete and incomplete, perfect and non-perfect, and something in between, which is called Beinoni, intermediate. But soon we realized that it's not such a low level. In truth of the matter, Beinoni is the one who doesn't do mistakes, doesn't commit sins. So what then who is tzaddik? If even Beinoni, who is in between righteous and wicked, is the one who doesn't sin, because if the person sins, he is a sinner. That's which most of us. So Beinoni is also not such a common level, so to speak. So what is it? And to understand all these spiritual terms and all these ideas, all these concepts, Alter Rabbi, the author of Tanya, says we need to analyze the structure of our soul, our spiritual structure. And another revelation which we got is that every Jew has two souls, as we learned before. The animal soul, which animates the body, and godly soul, which more lofty, which removed, so to speak, cannot correspond with the body directly, only through enclothment into the animal soul. But that's our structure, and we discussed a little bit what does it mean. What does it mean that we have two souls and other nations have only one soul? What's the background of this extreme duality? That's, in essence, that's what it is. Every person has good and bad inside of him, but in a Jew, it's brought to the extreme, that we have two separate carriers, so to speak, of this positive charge and negative charge, so to speak, if to use this type of illustration. Which is, I mean, it's too primitive, but it simplifies the concept. And we mentioned, we spoke about our animal soul, that it stems from so-called other side Sitra Ochra. We discussed a little bit this structure of the spiritual worlds, the realms. We said that there is, from starting from a certain point, there's a duality in the way how Hashem, how the Creator corresponds with the creation. There is a way, divani, of direct, how to say, direct way of transformation of light, and indirect, so through the other side.
Direct contact and indirect contact.
Yeah, we can put it this way. So there are certain things which he's directly interested in, so to speak, and there are other things which he's interested indirectly. Let's say for some other purposes. Let's say to give us freedom of choice, right? To give us freedom of choice, we need to have in front of us what? The alternative, at least two choices. One, that Hashem says, I want you to do this, or you're allowed to do this. And another one, I don't want you to do this. You're not allowed to do so and so. So those which go, so to speak, against the will of God, they come from the so-called other side. And our animal soul also comes from this other side, but from very specific part of it, very specific level, realm. We don't call it worlds. Worlds we call the levels of Sitra de Kedusha, of the side of holiness. I'm sorry. The levels of the other side we call klipot, shells. So our animal soul comes from very specific part of this segment of universe, spiritual universe, which is called klipas noga, the shining, the klipa of shining, which is different from all other realms, because this is the level where good and bad are mixed together. That's the reality created by the first sin committed by the first human beings, Adam and Eve. But we were not gonna go too deep into this Kabbalistic story. That's what we learned about our animal soul. We said that all the bad character traits of our our nature, they come from it. We said that are grouped according to four ideas called elements: earth, water, air, and fire, and but also the good qualities, naturally pre-installed into our nature, could come from this soul, because the source of this soul is Klipat Noga, the realm where there's not only bad but also good. That's our animal soul. We're not gonna review the most politically incorrect ideas which we discussed last time. Those who are interested could refer to the recording of the previous lecture, which we're trying to restore and to post. So follow our YouTube channel. Okay, now let's go to the second chapter. V'nefesh hashenis b'Yisrael yechelek eloka mimal mamash. And the second soul of a Jew is truly a part of God above. So in the end of the previous chapter we discussed our animal soul. We started with it. Now we're saying that the second soul is nothing less than part of God above. This is the quotation from the script Halak Eloka Mimal, the part of God above. It's the words of King Solomon. But Alter Rebbe adds the word mamash, literally, that we should not take it as an allegorically, but take this statement very seriously. It describes the essence of our godly soul, part of essence of godliness. Halak Eloka Mimal mamash, the part of God above, as it's written. But I mean, of course, it requires the explanation. What is the part of God above? Can you? I mean, God is not a cake, right? That you can cut into the pieces. So what does it mean that our godly soul is part of God above? But first, let's see what Alter Rebbe says as an illustration and explanation of this concept. No, I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit too fast. First of all, let's pay attention to the fact that this soul, the godly soul, is called the second soul. We started. I mean, the question is why. You might say because we mentioned the animal soul. We explained. We gave an explanation about it. How the different parts of our character, of our nature, come specifically from this spiritual source, which is in its turn rooted in certain realms of other side, but not just other side, but the clip of shining, the realm where good and bad are mixed together. So we already explained what is animal soul, so now we're explaining what is divine soul. Still, we have the question why we started with the animal soul, but it's not really this, because we'll come back to discussion of animal soul. We will analyze it in details. So, in truth of the matter, first we will talk extensively about the divine soul, the godly soul, and then we'll be dealing with the animal soul. Nevertheless, the godly soul is called the second soul. It's not just because the animal soul was mentioned first, but because in our, the way how we perceive the reality, ourselves and so on, first what we deal with, first what we feel, is our animal soul. When we feel ourselves alive, that's our animal soul. The movements of our body, the functions of our body, our daily life is that's run by our animal soul. The godly soul comes into play only in certain circumstances, in certain situations. Like we said before, that discussing the origins of different behavioral patterns, so to speak, then being rooted in the impure klipot realms of other side means that any act, even the one which is formally it's an act of goodness and kindness, but it's the inner motivation is for myself. It could be another alternative, another option, when it's natural for the person to be good, to do good things. It might do it genuinely willing to help others, not just to for personal benefit, but the godly soul comes to play only when you do something for the sake of fulfilling the will of Creator, not for any other motives, but to fulfill the will. So when does godly soul reveal itself? When I do the mitzvah. Yes.
You have to have intent.
Do you have to? Do you must to have intent?
Yeah, because when you
We were talking about the levels of doing good things. So of course, the highest level when you do it for not for the personal benefits, not just because it's easy for you because you were born as a good guy, as you are, but say, you know what, I'm doing it because it's a mitzvah.
But even if you just do the mitzvah, do you still get the godly soul revealed? Like just the mitzvah without the intent.
Without intent to do the mitzvah?
You do the mitzvah, but it's not like...
Very good question. Very good question. I would answer yes, but indirectly. It includes itself into your animal soul and so on. So it's been revealed, but not openly revealed. It reveals itself openly when you do for the sake of fulfilling the mitzvah. So even and you know how to make sure that's done this way, when you force yourself to do more than
you want to.
Than you want to, yes, more than it's natural for you.
Wow.
So that's why it's called second soul, because it's not obvious, it's not normal, it's not being revealed every time. What we live with our animal soul, and our godly soul struggles to find the ways to make itself the ruler of within our body. So that's why it's soul number one. It's not derogatory term, but that's it, according to the way how we perceive our perception of reality. Okay. Now, so this second soul number two, is a part of the God above. As it's written, He breathed into His nostrils soul of life. This is the quotation from the very beginning of the Torah, talking about the creation of the first human being. First was created as a body, and then the life was installed, so to speak, into it. And how Torah describes turning this lifeless body into a living human being, using the term of God breathed in the life into him. We understand that when Torah uses these terms regarding God Himself, it's not literally. It's not. You're smiling because you're imagining the lifeguards of Jersey Shore, breathing in the. This is not how it looked like when Hashem made Adam alive, but every anthropomorphical term, allegorical term, has specific meaning. So what does it convey? Which idea does it convey? Why specifically this term was used? There is another quotation: "V'ata nafachta bi." Every morning we start the morning. We start the day with morning prayers, thanking God for giving us the neshama, the soul, and we say that the soul which you breathed into me, using the same term. What does it mean? We can understand it from there are a few meanings. And the main one, which for our context, we can get the idea from the words of Zohar, the main book of Kabbalah, which says, "Man de nafach mitaychi nafach." It's written in the Zohar, he who blows from within him. What does it mean? Let's see. Peirush miteichiyusi mipnimiyusi. Shitoichiyus upnimius achayus shebeodam moitze benefichose bekayach. That is to say, from his inwardness and his innermost. For it is something of his internal and innermost vitality that man emits through exhaling with force. Let's use this situation as an example, as an allegorical picture. When we just breathe, we don't lose any power. It doesn't exhaust us. But when the person starts to breathe with force, blowing hard, you got the feeling of exhaustion. It looks like if you would blow out some part of your inner energy. Of course, on the level of physiology, it's different explanation, but it looks like that's why it's used as a symbol of transmitting some part of your inner vitality and transmitting it into, transferring and putting into the inside of human body, so to speak. So the Torah calls the way how God animated Adam in this term, breathe in, because the breathing in looks like extracting certain inner spark of your own vitality, power, livelihood, and putting it into the mouth of Adam. Understand? We will get back to it again, but I just want to mention that there is another meaning. There is another meaning. To this allegorical language, why Torah calls the process of animating of the human being as breathing in. It conveys the idea of flow of energy. The soul which we have within us, which is a source of life for the human being, is constantly connected with the source of life above. Actually, in truth of the matter, when I say the soul comes into the world, it's not exact description of what's going on. The soul remains in the heavenly realms, the source of the root of the soul, just certain aspects, very outer.
Worldly?
Superficial aspects of the soul come into this world and enclosed into the body. But those aspects of the soul which exist within the body, they are connected with the source of the soul, and which creates this specific channel of energy, the flow of energy. In the same way, like when you're blowing, there's a flow of air, and if you put something on the way of this flow, it stops it, or it prevents it, reduces the the power of it, the strength of the flow. The same way it works, the channel of connection of the soul in this world, within the body, with the source of the soul above. And what can block it? What kind of blockages could be put on the way of this flow? It depends on our actions. It's the result of our behavior. That's one of the outcomes of the mistakes which we might be doing in this world. That's one of the meanings of the rules given to us by the Creator in the Torah, in the manual which He gave us how to live in this world. Violating certain rules damages the soul of the person, damages the world in which we live, and also damages the soul, including putting blockages, creating the blockages on the way of this energy flow, which connects the source of the soul with the part of the soul which enclosed in the body. Okay, that's another meaning of this allegory. Breathing in the soul. Okay, now let's. Can you pause the video for a second? Let's continue. Let's resume. Before we continue, do you have any questions for what we just discussed? Everything is.
No, that was very clear.
Any questions? Great. Okay, so let's continue. So Alter Rebbe is now explaining the idea of our godly soul being a part of God Almighty Himself. He brought one symbolic explanation, how the Torah describes the way God animated, gave life to the first human being. Now he gives another symbolic description regarding our relationship with God. So, allegorically speaking, have the souls of Jews risen in the divine thought. Does it make any clearer? Does it explain it? Does it make more understood? How does it explain our oneness with God, that our soul is rooted within the highest levels of godliness? Okay, from what we said before, we can understand that breathing in describes that the source of our soul, the root of our soul, is somehow rooted in the highest levels of divinity, of godliness. Now, to explain this, Alter Rebbe says, so, allegorically speaking, have souls of Jews risen in divine thought. Let's see what does it mean. As it's written, my firstborn son is Israel, and in another quotation, you are children of Lord your God. How does it illustrate the idea of the fact that our souls are rooted in the level of divine wisdom, divine mind? We'll see. But let's pay attention to the quotations. Torah describes our relationship with the Creator by calling the nation of Israel firstborn son of God Almighty. Bnei B'chor Yisrael. You are the children of the Lord your God. I mean, it's a good title. There are so many nations call just one Jew a son of God, but in truth of the matter, we all are. Torah calls each one of us children of God. So it's nice to know, but what does it mean? And again, when the Torah calls us the children of God, it's not on the literal level of physicality, of physiology. Again, it's some symbolic term, but what's the idea being conveyed by specifically using this term, father and son? what kind of connection are between parent and child, which are used to describe our connection with relationship with God. With God. כמו שהבן נמשך ממו האב, כך כביכול נשמס כל איש ישראל נמשכה ממחשבתי וחכמוסי יתברך. This is to say, just as a child is derived from his father's brain, so, to use an anthropomorphism, the soul of each Israelite is derived from his thought and wisdom. Bless the here. The formation of the newborn human being starts with what's the true beginning of it? The true beginning is the I don't know how to call it. Neuro explosion, the impulse which happens on the level of the highest hierarchy of human being, inside of the brain of the parent. This signal, this neuro signal, is being transformed, going through peripheral nervous system, then being transformed into the semen, which through I forgot the term. Conception. Start the process of forming the body of new human being. I'm sorry for struggling for the terms. In Russian, it would be much easier for me to explain, but you got an idea. It all starts in the brain of the parent. This impulse creates the physical substance which starts the beginning of the new body, which through 9 months of pregnancy develops into the full-fledged new human being. So it all starts with the brain, which, Hashem created this world in such a harmonical way that the same laws, the same principles, the same harmony could be seen on different levels. The way how it exists on the physical level, which I just described, reflects the way how it works in the spiritual realms. The soul comes, the source for the soul comes from the most inner aspects of divine, what spiritual realms, which are called in Kabbalistic terms divine, godly wisdom, chokhmah. The highest of the sphirot, of the channels of the transformation of godly light, is the beginning of the system through which God created the universe. So, I use the description how the human body is being conceived as just an example. So how the principle works. The same with our souls. They come from the aspects, the most inner aspects of divine wisdom. The ilhakim v'lo v'chokhma yitzia ela hu v'chokhmase echad, mashikosav harambam. For he is wise, but not through a noble wisdom, because he and his wisdom are one, as Maimonides states. So now, when we call some human person wise, we describing him. That's his quality. When we say wisdom, we describe certain idea, concept, entity, whatever. But when we're talking about the wisdom of God, this is something which is united with his essence. He is one with his wisdom. He's one. You understand the idea? So when we say that the roots, the source of our soul, comes from the divine wisdom, it's the same as to say that we come from himself, because he and his wisdom are one. Again, in the parentheses I will say that it's kind of simplification. There are levels higher than what we call the divine wisdom, but again, even at that level, we can say about oneness of the even higher levels of our soul with Hashem Himself. But it's more how to say. Then the conversation will be more intricate, so to speak. For now, we describe it on this way: the source of the soul comes from the level of divine wisdom, which is one with his essence.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that the formation of a soul starts with the thought. Right?
Divine thought, on the level of divine thought or wisdom. Which is the highest level of the structure of creation, of the process of creation of the universe, everything created.
So it's not the human thought; it's the divine.
Of course,
divine thought.
of course. But the the revelation of this principle, of this idea, we can see on the level of our physicality and physiology, how the human parent and child are related. And we didn't finish the thought yet. But what we see, that the beginning of the existence of the child could be connected with the level of the brain of or the most inner mind cycle of the parent. That's important point to point out. Yeah.
Wait, sorry, really quick, that second part. But if every thought doesn't lead to a creation of a soul, so what happens to if it's incomplete process?
I didn't say that every thought.
No, I'm saying it's where is it created at the thought
When we're saying,
level,
when we're talking about the creation of new human being, it's not the thought which is in the beginning of this process. It's something above the thought. It's explosion. It's the impulse which is above any shape, any codification which we are assigned to the thinking process. Thinking, thoughts, it's one of the functions of the mind. There are higher realms of mind which are above of this level. So the conceivement, the conception comes from the highest level of let's call it mind or brain for the simplicity. Yeah.
So using the word wisdom, like divine wisdom, implies that it's purposeful. Yet using the word impulse in our physical bodies implies that it's something that we don't control. So obviously not every analogy is going to be perfect, but how is it reflective in that sense?
Very good question. The reasoning, whatever we can describe with or reasoning or any symbols, any code, it's not the most inner aspect of the mind, of intellect, of wisdom. It's already level of revelation, so it's kind of superficial. What's inside is above any shape, anything which you can call reason. I don't want to use subconscious terms like subconsciousness because it will distort the meaning. But you understand what I mean. It's not the wisdom which we call in our daily on the common level. wisdom is ability to think deep, to be smart. It's not smartness. It's abstract. It's abstract term. By the word wisdom, chokhmah, we call the level, the whole realm of not just cognitive functioning, but also subcognitive, which is the sort of cognitive thought process, which in turn gives birth to the emotional revelation and so on. We'll learn all this structure later on. But the chokhmah, which we translate as wisdom, is the highest level of this structure. So like in our brain, even on the level of physicality, the human brain is such a complicated device. What we call thinking, understanding, is such a primitive function, one of the functions which brain does. The abilities of human brain are much higher than what we call thinking. And the impulse which being transformed into the process which eventually gives birth to the new human being comes from the highest level of this very difficult system. So let's continue. Let's at least finish the thought. Because he and his wisdom are one, as Maimonides says. Shehu hamada v'hu yoidea. He writes in his fundamental work Mishnah Torah that God, he's a knowledge. He's the one who knows, and he's the subject of the knowledge. All combined in one. Everything is united within him. And it's v'dover zeh ein b'chelas adam lehavini al buryei. And it's impossible, and of course it's not within the power of any man to comprehend clearly, because this is not what we call on our human level knowledge, wisdom, and so on. So divine wisdom is something different. We comparably we call our function wisdom or knowledge, but it's not what we refer to as godly wisdom or godly knowledge. He's one with his wisdom. He and his wisdom is one. As it's written, can you find God by searching? And as it's also written, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. Okay. It means that if you don't completely understand the meaning of the statement that he and his wisdom are one, then it's normal, because it's above our understanding to apprehend the divine wisdom. But that's the fact that Hashem and His wisdom are one, and from this level comes the source of our souls. That's what we need to understand. Now, so we all come, our souls come from this supreme source. But this statement requires some kind of clarification, because if we all come from the same source, why are we all different? Right? And though there are myriads of different gradations of souls, gavo mel gavo, rank upon rank, my God always always Moshe Rabbeinu al shalom al nishmes dereseina ela dikvi mishricha, as within the superiority of the souls of patriarchs and Moses, our teacher, above the souls of our own generations. We can see the difference in the souls, and how to say, different dimensions. Let's say when we compare the souls of our ancestors and the souls of our generation, there is a tremendous difference. The souls of the first generation, those who came out from Egypt, who received the Torah, the generation of Moses, they correspond to the level of the head. Our generation, the last generation before coming of Mashiach, is called Ikvasa de Mashiach, the heel of Mashiach. One of the meaning, the simple meaning of that, you can hear his steps. He's already very close, but why is it's called heel? Because when we compare the Jewish nation as a civilization, meaning stretched through the generations to the human body, we are all organisms, because we all carry the same mission. When the Torah was given to us, it was given to us as a mission to our entire nation. In every generation, we fulfill our part of this mission to bring this world to the goal, to the purpose for which it was created. But the levels of these generations are different. And if we compare the entire civilization of the Jewish nation to one organism, to the entire body, then those generations of our forefathers correspond to the level of the head, and we are the lowest. There is a difference, right? But even on the level of different dimension, לגבי נשמס ההומן, ממש לגבי המוח והראש. To compare the level of our generation to the generations of receiving of the Torah, it's like comparing the heels, the lowest part of the body, to the head, the highest one. And this, similarly, in every generation, there are different levels of souls. יש רש"ל ישראל שנשמסיהם מבחינת ראש המוח לגבי נשמס ההומן ועמי הארץ. So in every generation, there are the leaders of the Jewish nation, whose souls are in the category of head and brain, in comparison with those of the masses and the ignorant. וכן נפושס על גבי נפושס, and nefesh, ככל nefesh כלולה מנפש רוח הנשמה. And even we can make it even more complicated if we will bring to the play, to the conversation, the idea that the soul has also complicated structure, the different levels of the soul. So there's no simplicity at all. We all come from the same source, but we're all so different. Through the generations, we are so different, and even within the generation, we exist as one body, working for one goal, but each one on his own level. Like within the body, there are millions of cells, each one functioning according to its purpose and design, on its own place, being part of another group of cells, which compose certain organs and so on. And within this structure, there are different levels. There's hierarchy. There's the highest level, which is brain. There are other levels which have a vital importance, but maybe less complicated as brain. And there are the very simple parts of the body. The same within the body of our nation. There are souls of higher level, there are souls of more simple level. How come? How such a diversity appears from the fact that all our souls come from the same source, the same root, the divine mind, so to speak. So the question, the answer to this question God willing, will be given on the next class.
Great cliffhanger.